Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and this is my weekend review ending today, which it's November 10th. Yes, it is, 11/10. But I'm here to talk about the different kinds of films that I streamed this week, the different films that I got through my Netflix DVD, the new episodes of shows that are appearing each week that I keep up with, and along with the streaming shows that I also watch that I binge. Now, starting off with the streaming movies that I've watched this week, I wound up watching Iron Sky, which is that crazy Nazis on space, on the moon, attacking and trying to take over the world, and it's like 2012, and I feel like there's parts of this where it feels really ridiculous, over the top, and pulpy, where it's fun. But overall, Iron Sky takes itself way too seriously to have any fun with it. And how they portray all of this, and with the horrible effects and just shoddy nature of how this film's put together, this really should have been a crazy grindhouse, just like ridiculous fun. But it tries to be this weird, serious movie for most of its runtime, and it just doesn't work. Really wouldn't recommend Iron Sky. I know there's a sequel that came out recently, and this reminds me of Kung Fury, except Kung Fury didn't take itself seriously, it was just ridiculously over the top. This, not so much. I also watched The House That Jack Built, which Lars von Trier is a very interesting director, and all of his films challenge you. And this film, which is 2.5 hours following Matt Dillon's serial killer along for some of his most influential kills, and him talking through the story and where his journey goes from there, it's disturbing and hard to look away, but also hard to watch. And that's a strange dichotomy there, because you're sitting here really getting deep into what's going on in this serial killer's head and seeing these horrible things he's doing, but it's presented in such a tense and thrilling kind of way, and that's what Lars von Trier does. He challenges his audiences, and where this film goes towards the end is really unexpected and shockingly beautiful, and a crazy kind of twist that I didn't expect. And I feel like this is the kind of film that, if you're a cinephile, you just have to watch, because you have to at least take it in and say that you can watch The House That Jack Built, because it is a time. Now, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, by far the worst movie I've seen all year. My God, the acting in this is horrible. The dialogue is so horrible, and the wooden acting saying the lines of dialogue is so horrible that I almost wanted to stop watching. And also, it's so distasteful. And turning this into some kind of shoddy, cheap jump scare horror kind of thing, where Sharon Tate had premonitions of what was going to happen to her, and just, this seems so ill-conceived and really disrespectful. But I know a lot of people had problems with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for being disrespectful to the story. But here's the thing. That was a great film. This was garbage. Would not recommend The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Then I got to watch Let It Snow, the new Netflix film that released this weekend, and it is a fun, sweet little rom-com for teenagers, and I really liked it. It had a whole entire cast of a lot of young actors and actresses, some in Netflix shows, some popping up in movies like Dora the Explorer, and Jacob Batalon from the Spider-Man movies was in this. It's a lot of fun. It's not the deepest movie. It's not the most unpredictable and exhilarating kind of movie. It's a fun little rom-com, and it's done well, and everybody's game. It has a good cast. It's something if you just want to stream a holiday-related kind of film, because it's that time of the season. I might be getting snow this week, crazy, but honestly, if you just want a nice little film, go check out Let It Snow on Netflix. Now, for my Netflix DVDs, I got Piercing, which was a film that released earlier this year, starring Christopher Abbott and Mia Wasikowska. Not sure if I said that right. But this film, similar to The House of Jack Built, is really hard to watch and hard to look away. It's really disturbing and will challenge you, and is a deep dive into some people who have a lot of disturbing thoughts, and you're kind of put in a really perplexing place to sit through and really get inside the head of this character who kills. And it is a challenging piece of cinema. It has a very interesting vibe to it. There's some interesting use of like kind of what look like models for like cars, like driving scenes and like buildings and stuff like that. It's a very old school kind of look and feel to it, which I appreciated. This film is not for everyone. Similar to The House of Jack Built, those are both films not for everybody, but I think a cinephile, I think it's worth checking out and seeing how it clicks with you. Because it's both of these films are those kinds of films that it's hard to see and really grasp, is this going to click with you or not? But then I also took another chance on Punch Drunk Love. I tried watching this about like 5 years ago and wasn't a huge fan of it. And really diving more into Paul Thomas Anderson's works, I really wanted to go back and see this. And also with Uncut Gems coming out, the new dramatic role for Adam Sandler. And honestly, I was really impressed by this. The tension is really impressive, not surprised from PTA. Adam Sandler gives a very vulnerable and aggressive and explosive performance. And Philip Seymour Hoffman just goes nuts in this movie. And I feel like there's all these different kinds of aspects to this film, and you're just on the edge of your seat, kind of trying to see how this is all going to play out. And you feel that tension and frustration in Adam Sandler's character because all the people in his life, especially his crap ton of sisters, and balancing everything and their thoughts, and they're trying to dictate his life and his insecurities where he's not able to admit certain things. It's a great film. I really appreciated this dark kind of comedy, and Adam Sandler was great in it. I'd highly recommend it. Now, on to what's on the tube this week. Last Sunday, watched the 3rd episode of Watchmen, and it had some very interesting reveals, really starting to incorporate the original show. And Silk Spectre popping up, and the realization Ozymandias is really in this show, and hearing about what happened to Night Owl. And I feel like the show's really kicking into gear, and threads are being pulled, mysteries are being revealed, opening up even more mysteries because this is a Damon Lindelof film and show. So be prepared. But I feel like the show's really kicking into gear, and it's extremely intriguing, and I'm super excited to see where this film's going because there's so many mysteries that I want to find out, and this film just gets perplexing and more complex by the minute. And that's something special. I watched the premiere of His Dark Materials on Monday, and I enjoyed it. I thought feels like a very interesting kind of adventure, the world in it, with the animal connections for everybody. I never watched The Golden Compass. I started reading the books when I was younger. It wasn't something that really clicked with me at the time, and I'm willing to give this a chance, the show. And it was a really good first episode to really set up some things. James McAvoy's intriguing in the show, and Daphne Keane, really excited to see her in this, especially after Logan. So this is a show that I think is really worth checking out and giving a shot on HBO. Got to watch a new episode of My Hero Academia, and I'm excited to see where this season keeps going. We finally get that point where our heroes are confronting our new villains of the series and really starting to understand how dangerous they could potentially be. And also this slowly unraveling of some mysteries around All Might and his former partner, and really seeing some of the things that he might not have been completely open about. And it leads to a very emotional climax to this episode, and it was a great episode. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where things go for young Midoriya moving forward, because he's being challenged with some very difficult decisions, and those emotional moments he has with All Might are really powerful and resonant, and you get another one in this episode. The new Bob's Burgers from last Sunday, it was a lot of fun, and really felt like Bob's Burgers at its best. A trip to the mall, and everybody getting into their own crap. Linda being weird with this author that she likes. Bob just trying to buy some pants on his own and getting caught up with Detective Bosco. And I've been there with some of the frustrations of like shifting sizes and trying to find something and trying to figure out it on your own, honestly, and coming up with your own look. And then, of course, Tina takes on a big chunk of this episode as she's really become a much bigger focal point of the show over the past couple of seasons, and she has this really, really uncomfortable and weird interaction with some random kid who falls asleep on her on a bench at the mall, and all the crazy hijinks, all kinds of crazy fun stuff. And then there was the latest episode of The Good Place. My God, this episode leaves you off on something that's ready to shake the show up again. And I love that about this show because I never know where it's going to go. It was coming to a really tense climax of this experiment going on in the new season. And some of the characters really coming to some realizations and new challenges. And Jason getting some cool moments. And Michael being ridiculously fun, trying to become a magician. A human magician, and all these crazy things leading up to this climax of this episode, and it leaving you on like, I can't wait till next Thursday to find out where this is going. And this is an exciting last season of the show. If you haven't started watching The Good Place, go catch up on Netflix and check this out. Now, binge watching, I finished the third season of Atypical, and I really like where it leaves the possibilities moving forward. And I like how it comes to a closure point. It comes to a point for Casey, especially at the end of last season, where her life is going in terms of trajectory, but also opening up some new challenges. And because really watching her trying to come to grips with particular things is some of the most engaging parts of the show. But Sam has his own challenges and has a new one. And his relationship with his best friend in this season was one of the most interesting roller coasters and comes to a whole new place at the end. And it was a really good season. I really love this show. I finished watching the first season of Hey Arnold. Honestly, probably the strongest, most relatable and mature shows that Nickelodeon had at the time. And rewatching it as an adult and really becoming to realize that. That Christmas episode, though, hits me every time. And some of the episodes towards the end of the season, the whole reverse, It's a Wonderful Life with Helga was such an interesting episode and such a great show. Then I started watching House of Cards, and I've gotten through the first season, and how did I not know David Fincher was involved in this, and how did I not start watching this before? Probably because how much shit talking's happening about the most recent seasons, and with the whole Kevin Spacey thing, but this is a great show, it's intriguing, and it really pulls you in, has twists and turns, the intrigue, the backstabbing, those fourth wall breakings with Frank Underwood, and Kevin Spacey's great performance, Kate Mara and Robin Wright, all of this. Corey Stoll has a very interesting arc throughout this first season of this show, and I'm hooked. I'm definitely going to be keeping going, watching the rest of the series. I honestly have like 20 minutes left of the final episode of the first season, and this show is top notch, and I'm not surprised that this really hooked people onto Netflix. But honestly, there you go. That's my week in review. Comment. Let me know anything that you want to talk about in more detail, and I'll be sure to have a conversation, as I always like talking movies and TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.